Hey, deserving listeners, The Ultimatum. Let's check it out.
In his head. I know. It's just so, like, surface level.
Well, here's the thing with you, babe. We have nothing to lose now.
Yeah.
Stand your ground. If you want something from him, tell him. And if he doesn't change, leave him. I just think you deserve so much more.
Yeah.
So, to catch you up, a lot of things have happened. They've talked to a lot of parents. There has been some good conversations between the cast members. It's the ladies' night and the dudes' night to get together. The dudes, they try to edit it in a way that made it look like there were conflicts, but there were some very mature conversations happening between James and Trey, because they swapped. Well, I guess there are two couples or four couples, and two swapped and then the other two swapped. So for James and for Trey, they're long-term partners, and so they're talking to each other. And I will say that Trey was telling James that he is having feelings. I mean, he didn't say this specifically, but he was basically telling James, by the way, Ryan, your partner of 7 years, I feel like I'm having, he didn't say this phrase, but he said in a very sort of tentative way that I think what he was telling James was, if things don't work out between you and Ryan, I might date Ryan. He was saying a lot of things like, hanging out with Ryan, she has really opened up my eyes to how good a relationship can feel and how close I can feel, how valued I can feel. I think he doesn't feel valued by a lot of people, and maybe particularly Raya. But he wasn't saying, I'm going to get together with Ryan during the trial marriage or during this process. I think Trey is saying, like, maybe after this whole thing is said and done, if you guys break up, I think I might actually want to date her. And I didn't show this as well, but at the choosing ceremony, James actually reached out to Trey while they were at the table and said, so Trey, by the way, our partners have swapped, or we have swapped, whatever way you want to put it. And I just want to say that I have respect for you and I don't want to step on your toes. It's a pretty stand-up thing to say. So I think James and Trey have continued to have some pretty fraught conversation, or some conversations with a lot of landmines, and they've navigated not to step on any, seemingly. Another show would Jerry Springer out, and they'd end up taking a swing at each other or screaming at each other or something. But as throughout this show, particularly Trey, exhibiting, at the very least, not terribly toxic behavior. There was a lot of talk about the complaints. Trey is actually, he even said this phrase, he's like, I would think of myself as a bad person, James, if I didn't tell you this, but Ryan has told me, we only see a little bit of the conversations with these folks. Not only do they only film, small portions, but they only edit in even smaller portions. So, they're talking a lot, and I get the impression that Trey and Ryan have talked a lot, and it would make sense, right? Especially given the circumstance that during this trial marriage, you would be talking about your partner a lot, because that's your main concern, right? You're not really concerned about having a trial marriage. And you would talk a lot. Plus, it's totally, even if you consider their breakup to be legitimate, when they end the relationship and they have this trial marriage, that it's normal upon a breakup, even if you chose to break up, that you would want to review what happened, that you would want to talk about it. Anyway, so Trey says, I'd be a bad person if I didn't tell you, James, what Ryan is saying about her complaints about you. And she feels like you don't open up. That, and then James was talking about how he was hinting at, giving more hints and more indications that his childhood was particularly problematic. He, said both of his parents, he didn't say directly, but were problematic, chaotic, traumatizing, something to him. And also that he has a lot of stories that he's never told anyone about his childhood, which, when I hear that phrase, I think pretty awful experiences, maybe even sexual abuse, something along those lines. Of course, I don't know. But when I hear a phrase like, there are things that happened in my childhood I've never told anybody. Yeah, that's rough, right? That James went through that. But the other notable thing that's happening right now is that Roxanne, so at the ladies' night, when all four of them are together, there's all these people asking questions, and Roxanne is just spouting about how Alex and Kat came together, right? And Alex is now with Roxanne. And Roxanne is talking glowingly about Alex and bragging. I mean, it looked like that. I'm going to take a guess and say that not a lot of people are super fond of Roxanne. But I will say that thus far, there's no one on this show that I think people would hate. But I think Roxanne, she has enough traits that I imagine people would be turned off by her. She comes across as a little braggy. It's hard to say because they show us these little clips, but I don't know. She is talking about how Alex loves her. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but Kat is sitting right next to her. And of course, Kat is the one that gave the ultimatum to Alex, right? And Roxanne is talking about how compatible she is with Alex, and how Alex, I think Roxanne said something like, if I asked him to have sex with me, he would have sex with me right away, or something like that. And, they keep panning to Kat, and, Kat is so nice and kind of blank that she doesn't scowl or anything. But, you can imagine that would be kind of concerning and hurtful. Maybe not. I don't know. And then, so there's a lot of that, and I didn't really know what to think of that, so I didn't react to it specifically, but I was watching, and I'm like, And then they break out into twosomes, and now Roxanne and Kat are talking, because, it's an interesting conversation. And Kat is telling Roxanne, oh, Antonia's so sweet. He just does he does everything for you. He seems really focused on you. And Roxanne was very dismissive of those kinds of things. That's fine. If Roxanne doesn't like Antonio, then she doesn't like him. I think that's quite possible. They've broken up several times. It sounds like she said boyfriends in between those breakups. Then, so Kat is telling Roxanne, your partner, Antonio, is so dedicated to you, and he has low self-esteem, and Roxanne's just, really dismissive about it. It just seems like Roxanne is over Antonio, I guess. And then I'm thinking, especially with all the scenes we've seen between Roxanne and Alex, that Roxanne and Alex are, they're into each other's stuff. They met each other's parents, and they're talking about how much they get along, and they share business. And Roxanne keeps talking about how Alex is everything that Antonio is not, and she loves that, and da-da-da-da. But then Roxanne sits down with Kat, and Roxanne has been wall-to-wall talking crap about Alex, which is, Kate's original partner. And then you just heard her say, you need to leave him. And she's like, red flags. And then I'm starting to think, well, because Kat started to agree with this, that they both agree that Alex lies compulsively. I mean, I say compulsively, but that's the way it sounded, where he lies all the time. Some of the lies seemed maybe not lies, because one of the lies that Roxanne identified was that Alex said he was working, but then she discovered that he was napping. And I'm thinking, well, can't you take a nap in the middle of a work day? That happens sometimes. Sometimes naps are a part of work. It's like an important part of getting your energy back, especially if you need to take a nap. I'm personally offended because I love taking naps. So don't talk shit about naps. And don't claim that someone's lazy. And then that's the problem. People will think that sleeping is equated with laziness, which it couldn't be different. If you want to optimize your productivity, research shows good sleep, including taking naps if you need one, is a key part in increasing one's productivity. But also your well-being, your mood, just everything. Anyway, digestion, your cognitive ability, everything works better typically if you get adequate sleep. Anyway, so, but Kat and Roxanne were both agreeing and listing a lot of little lies that Alex, would say and do. And I'm thinking, whoa, like we haven't seen that on the camera, but I guess I can kind of see it. And since they both agree, it just seems highly likely that that's a thing. So I wonder what's going on there. Also, Roxanne is telling Kat like all the reasons why. I wrote them all down while she was talking. So the lies, like several lies, because Roxanne has only hung out with Alex for a few weeks, and she just had all these lies that she could identify. Another big part of her telling Kat to leave Alex is that Alex is very inconsiderate, that he doesn't ever tell you that you're beautiful, and he doesn't, when you are coming home late from work, he is asleep. And what Roxanne was saying was that, if I'm coming home late from work, my partner Antonio will set his alarm so that he wakes up, so he's awake when I get home. And I'm thinking, well, okay, fine, but unless it's like a really important thing, like you've been gone for a week or two, if you're just at work and it's past my bedtime, I'm going to bed. And I certainly wouldn't expect my wife Stacy to stay up for me. If it's her bedtime, go to bed. What does you ruining your sleep in the middle of the night being up, what benefit does that do for me? You know what I mean? Now, if someone wants to do that, it's fine. But to criticize Alex for that, it doesn't. But there were other things that, well, I don't know. Did we hear anything that was overtly? I'm trying to remember all the things that Roxanne was saying. So I don't know. But they both kind of agreed that Alex is always surface level, like he never goes deep. But here's the kicker. They both agree that Alex never admits that he has done anything wrong or that he has any kind of a flaw. And they had multiple examples of the things that Alex has said. And yeah, that's a sign of immaturity. It's a sign of defensiveness. It's a sign of narcissism. It's a sign that you're insecure or you're not very self-aware. So yeah, that is a red flag. And you could see how Alex and Kat would fit well together, given how, it's like when I'm looking at my notes for everyone, I have paragraphs of stuff. For Kat, literally, I have one phrase and it says, good listener. I guess I should she also seems passive to a fault. She agrees with everyone. She doesn't push back on anybody. Not in the room. She seems like she doesn't really have a presence, I'm sure she has a presence, but she doesn't insert it. Similar, I think, to Antonio. I think maybe Kat might invisibilize her feelings and emotions, and she's just very pleasing and very accommodating, as Roxanne is talking and bragging about how Alex would do anything for her. I can't remember exactly what Roxanne was saying, but as Roxanne is, I don't know, I don't want to say bragging, that's kind of mean, but in that direction, saying that Alex is into her, Kat's just like, oh, and then when Roxanne is just dogging on Alex a little bit later, Kat's like, oh yeah, Kat's just very, oh yeah, my partner, the person that I gave an ultimatum, person I want to spend the rest of my life with. You're right. Yeah, he's a horrible human being. I'm exaggerating, but it has that look to it. And, maybe Kat's just thinking, well, the cameras are here. I'm not going to argue with her. I certainly don't believe everything she's saying. But we don't know. We can imagine that Kat and Alex fitting well together, and Kat is such a people pleaser, and she puts herself in the back burner that, there's those kinds of issues. Who knows? It's hard to tell. I think we would, at least I'm tempted to see Alex as also kind of, I don't know what to call it, but kind of a pompous white dude, but I'm sure he is deeper than that, because they always are. But if it's in that direction, you could see Kat as being the over pleaser, and it kind of breaks your heart, the whole situation. So anyway, that brings us to the present owner. Roxanne is just overtly telling Kat how horrible Alex is, and that Kat needs to leave him. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. We often talk about a work-life balance, right? But how often do we talk about a balance between time for others and time for ourselves? It's so easy to get caught up in thinking about what everyone else wants from us and never taking the time for ourselves. And of course, therapy can help you with that balance. I mean, just going to therapy is taking time for yourself, right? I've had many clients who will do this. They will come into my office, sit down on my couch, and let out a big sigh of relief because I think for the first time in a week, they're actually taking time to think about what they need. If you're thinking of starting therapy, it's worth giving a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient and suited to your schedule. And also, you can switch therapists at any time at no additional charge. So, find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
In his head. I know. It's just so like surface level.
Well, here's the thing with you, babe. We have nothing to lose now.
Yeah.
Stand your ground. If you want something from him, tell him. And if he doesn't change, leave him.
That's actually better. That's a lot better. In fact, I might even, as a friend, not as I would never say that as a therapist, but because I have too much influence as a therapist, but as a friend, I might say something like that. I might say like, hey, you deserve to ask for what you want. So I'm going to commend Roxanne for her message. I think I missed the first clause of what she was saying. But that's a great message of just like, you deserve to ask for what you want in this relationship. And if he can't give it, then you deserve better than that. So yeah, that's a great message, particularly to Kat. But the lead up to that was just an onslaught of Roxanne very confidently. You know, it'd be one thing if Roxanne sat down and was like, okay, here's my impression of him. I've only been with him for a few weeks, but I kind of get the impression this, like, Kat, you know him so much better. What do you think? Does he lie sometimes? You know, it's a different approach and would, I don't know, potentially be more helpful and more enjoyable for Kat to have a conversation like that. But I don't know. I mean, maybe the problem is if my idea of Kat being a people pleaser to an extreme is true, then she might, in an attempt to please Roxanne, just say, oh, okay, I will break up with him without knowing what she really wants. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.